Hey, g'day. 29th of April 2026. What glorious weather we've got today. This is George, and again, it's my pleasure to present to you another message of hope. But of course, today's episode may not be pleasing to everyone, I understand. But let's go on. Now, the house in Taiwan was never quiet. I'll explain. Well, I lived there for a year and a half, and I did that with a purpose, right? So my wife's parents were there, her grandmother, our kids, and their aunties, uncles, and cousins, all under the same roof. Yeah, it wasn't a small house. And of course, there was a great-grandmother shuffling between rooms with that particularly unhurried pace that very elderly people would do, right? Children were running around the house, and meals that happened in shifts because we weren't all at home at once. Certainly I was working and I had to travel quite far. And there were challenges, real ones I'm going to say, so I won't dress them up as something that's pretty. And there were moments where I would have traded almost anything just for consecutive 20 minutes of silence. Yes. Now, don't misunderstand. I mean, the ordinary friction of too many people sharing too little space, yeah, can be uncomfortable at times. But I was there for a reason. But here is what I'm glad about. I mean, genuinely glad, right? It's not the sanitized version of gladness where you pretend the hard parts weren't hard. Oh no, I'm not going to do that. Well, my kids saw what it meant to respect their elderly relatives. That was important. I mean, nobody sat them down to explain it. They just lived through it day in and day out, every day. In that small repeated gesture of a household that organized itself around the oldest person in it. Because oldest demand the most respect, I guess. Now, the way everyone moved through that house was quietly, carefully, when a great-grandmother was resting. Shh, let her rest. And you won't forget what you absorb at close range. If that makes any sense to you. Interestingly enough, a recent article caught my attention. I'm going to share it with you. It's from the realestate.com.au website. It says close to 900,000 Victorians are now living in multi-generational households. So that's nearly 1 million people, guys. Nearly 1 million. That's parents and adult children, grandparents and grandchildren, families doubled up under one roof for all kinds of reasons and all kinds of pressures, right? I think a bulk of them were in the western suburbs, if I'm not wrong. Now, if you're watching this and if you're one of them, I suspect you have a version of a particular conversation inside your head right now. You know, the one where you compare yourself to friends who've got their own place, the one where you run a quiet internal calculation in your head about what this says about you. Is it about where you are supposed to be by now, where that comparison comes from, and whether this is evidence to you that you are not there, and you don't have a proper address, a front door with your name on it, that tells about independence. And these are not trivial things that you want. They're entirely reasonable things I think you should aim for. Yes, I agree. But wanting something does not mean the absence of it is punishment, right? Don't see it like that. Because after all, the financial reality that's facing Australians right now is shifted under people's feet in ways that the previous generation simply did not face. After all, every generation had its own challenges, right? So this is not a moral failure that's dressed up as a housing shortage. Again, don't see it that way. But there is something else, something that runs deeper than the question of whether this is temporary or permanent. Because most of what you know about money, whether that's good or bad ideas, you didn't learn in the classroom, did you? I suspect not. I didn't. But you just caught it, right? As you go through life. And you go through life at close range. You're watching someone handle a bill, react to a setback, yes, plenty of those, and go quietly tense at the end of the month. You absorb the financial posture before you had words for it. If you're sharing a household with another generation right now, I guess something is being transformed in both directions, of course, whether you're paying attention to it or not. And that's either an opportunity or a warning, depending on what is being caught. Now, if you're finding this helpful, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to this channel, look out for more videos, which I hope you'll subscribe to, and share it with other people, and don't forget to give us a thumb up. New episodes coming every day, yes. So, as I always say, here's my favorite part, the scriptural passages. So listen what the psalmist writes, and this is Psalm 127, verses 1 through 3. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. I beg your pardon. Sorry, the kid in the background is distracting me. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. So did you hear what I said? Unless the Lord builds the house, and that is the key, right? It didn't say unless you secure the right financial structure. And it didn't say unless you negotiate a clean exit from this arrangement, where you are living with parents and grandparents perhaps. You know, this arrangement before it becomes permanent. And it's not unless you time everything correctly. No, I didn't hear that in the passages. Unless it is the Lord builds the house. Again, that's the foundation of what you want to build in your life. Now, this passage is good for people under pressure, I suspect. People rising early and going late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, working themselves hollow, trying to hold the whole thing together. And the psalmist doesn't hand them a better strategy, does it? He offers something more fundamental, though. He says, you are building in vain. So let that ring in your ear. I mean, there is a specific flavor to that kind of toil. You're doing everything technically right. You're managing the money, managing the relationships, managing the logistics, and there is still a quiet dread underneath it all. It doesn't respond to working harder. Interesting, isn't it? Counterproductive, counterintuitive. Now, I know that flavor, I've eaten that bread before. Well, God says into it, it is not trying to try harder. No, I didn't read into that. I think He's actually said, who is building what you are trying to build? And are you building it alone? Someone's doing a blower here. Hang on, let me move. I'll repeat, behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. God bless you for that, yeah. So not a project or liability to have children. Don't see it that way. But it's a heritage. Something that's entrusted by God, something you're responsible to handle faithfully. And of course, heritage by its nature moves across generations. It just does not stay still. You know what I'm saying. Now back to Taiwan. Now my kids watch their great-grandmother move around the house. They see this an elderly, slow pace, unhurriedly. She's there, she didn't lecture them. She simply existed in front of them every single day. And the household organized itself around her in ways nobody had to announce. Ways my children simply absorbed. The way you absorb an accent when you're surrounded by it long enough. Now, I could have not manufactured that through any other means. I just had to be there, right? There were no conversation I could have planned. And I don't believe there were any books I could have assigned them to that teaches this stuff. It's just proximity, just what proximity does when you left it. Now, I'm not naive about what shared household can also produce. Okay, let's look at the other side of the coin. The loss of privacy is real, and it can get to you, especially you have a lot of people in a small area. I mean, the particular exhaustion of never quiet being alone, or living in close quarters with people you love. And sometimes precisely because you love them, and that is that's the reality. I'm not going to go smooth that over, because there are times. But here, Psalm 127. Unless the Lord builds the house, the Lord builds with stranger materials than we expect. He builds with friction, with inconvenience, with the arrangement you did not choose and the circumstances that arrived before you were ready. I think the Lord is molding us. He disciplines us. He's building us to have good, strong character. I mean, hello? That's exactly the situation most of those 900,000 Victorians are sitting in right now. Yep. So here's where I want to speak to you directly. Are you treating this as something to survive or something to steward? Very big difference. Because those two postures produce entirely different household. Proximity without intention is just white noise in the background. A house full of people managing to coexist without actually transmitting anything to anyone? Questionable. And financial anxiety passing silently from one generation to the next. It gets unchallenged and unexamined because nobody ever sat down and talked about it honestly. Yeah. A grandparent who's hard-won wisdom about handling money in difficult times, that is real wisdom. And he's earned the hard way for them. That goes completely untapped because the evenings are spent in separate rooms, even though you're in one big house. Absolutely. Well, that's all I got for today for you guys. Like I said, the house in Taiwan was never quiet, but my kids came home knowing what it felt like to sit at a table with 4 generations of people who were glad to be together. I'm glad I went through that experience. If you ever got a chance, I hope you do the same, yeah? Because that is not something I could have purchased at any price the market was willing to offer me. Alrighty, thanks for today. I hope you enjoy this message. It's encouraging to you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.